Yeah, I just spent about 2.5 months in Japan, and I spent most of my time lounging around my guest house room with a girl. So leaving kind of sucked. So, but it sparked a good poem. So, all right, it's new, so if I stumble, forgive me. Does everyone in America own a gun? She asked me. And I'm just as stunned by her question as she is by my reply. Of course not. But I don't tell her about the only time I ever held a gun. I was 15 and my best friend Rich had just been jumped into the Bloods, and he came straight to my house afterwards to show off his bruises and his newly acquired language. An hour later, my shirt was soaked with his tears. And he was telling me that his mom and I were the only two people that ever gave a shit about him. I talked his pistol out of his pocket, its heft unexpected in my hand, hurled it into the woods behind my house. And I remember how alarmed I was the first time I came to her country, and seeing 5-year-old schoolgirls navigating the crowded subways and streets unaccompanied and thinking, where the hell are your parents? And I don't tell her about the time my little sister was nearly abducted at 8, walking home alone from school for the first time. And yeah, we've all heard the rhetoric before, about how Japan is the safest country in the world and America is full of guns and ghettos, but when you've grown up on either side of this divide, you fail to realize its pervasiveness. This cultural division is perfectly evidenced. Sitting with her one day in our Tokyo tenement watching the afternoon movie on public TV, 20 minutes into the film is every adolescent schoolboy's after-school fantasy. Full frontal nudity. Now, an hour later, in the climactic battle scene, when the hero's face is sliced open with a sword, the blood and gore is blurred and pixelated so as not to be seen. And this is where I think the Japanese are onto something. Exposing their kids to violence is unthinkable, but exposing them to nudity is perfectly acceptable. And this is where the Americans need to take a cue from the Japanese. So instead of our kids sitting at home honing their Columbine beeline by watching Hollywood movies or playing video games filled with graphic violence, they can sit at home and hone their hormonal health by playing video games filled with graphic nudity. Think about it. No, think about it. Instead of playing House of the Dead, they play Spouse Giving Head. Instead of looking forward to the day they get their first AK, they look forward to the day they get their first BJ. What the values would instill in them? Monogamy, the sanctity of marriage, the unrivaled pleasures of oral sex. I mean, it gives whole new meaning to the term busting off shots. I never asked her about the scars on her arms. Now she tells me about her first suicide attempt at 19. She filled her bathtub full of water and charted a crimson path across the horizon of her wrist because that was how she'd seen it done in an American movie. And as I prepare to return to my country, I feel like this is what I'm leaving her with our brief relationship. Just a vague insight into an American oddity. And yeah, they may be onto something, but for a country with the lowest crime rate in the world, they've got the highest suicide rate of any. She leaves her suicide notes everywhere as constant reminders to me, like her smell in my pillow, or her hair in my sink, or the syllables she utters when she talks in her sleep. And I don't know what she's saying, but it doesn't sound good. So I do my best to comfort her by placing my hand on her hip and synchronizing our breaths. And even if her first attempt had been successful, I feel like you couldn't end her obituary with a period because, y'all, this is not the end of her sentence. Just so much more to give me, and now I'm leaving. And all I've given her are pregnant hopes and alien memories. So I kissed her one last time, packed all my regrets into my bag, and left her a 6,000-mile-long suicide note. And I hope she remembers me as more than just some image on TV, because I want to leave her and her country with more. More than just some empty American dream. Yeah.